Hi, everyone. My name's Kevin LaRue, and I'm with SlickPic, and I am really glad to have you guys on board with us today. I'd like to also introduce my colleague, Sam Berzin. So Sam and I, once things get cooking, we'll be behind the scenes in the meeting chat, answering any quick questions we can, but I'm also going to be queuing them up for Matt as well. So look, Matt's got a storied career. I hope all of you know him already, but by the end of this, you will know him well. He's a started off his career as a photojournalist, which gives him a great perspective when he's out there, touring the world and traveling and teaching and talking. He's got that photojournalist, that PJ, view of things. But since that career ended, he's been a leading fine art landscape photographer. I know he does sell a lot of his work, wildlife, travel, photography. I think I met you mostly in that era. But man, you've been doing some terrific night sky work, Milky Way, and today we're here to get our fill of how you photograph the northern lights, and tips on safety and how to travel with gear. That's one of my biggest challenges is I've got too many lenses and stuff, and I never know what to bring.
We
uh,
all do.
a little bottle of water and I'm good. So I'm super excited for you to be here, Matt. Thanks for saying yes to my call, and I'll let you go ahead and jump in and take over here. And I'm going to be sitting on the sidelines with my box of popcorn, checking things out and seeing what you have to say. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks. Hey, thanks so much, Kev, and thanks, Sam, for having me here. And thanks, everyone, for joining us either live or on the recording afterwards. So, I'm going to be talking about the Northern Lights and, in particular, going to Norway. Let me go ahead and queue up my presentation here. And I always lose my mouse. So, hold on one second.
Well, I can see it right there on your desk. Okay, I'm going to mute myself now.
You be quiet, Kev. All right, let's get this going here. Hold on one second. And okay. All right, so hopefully everyone is seeing the right thing. Kev, can you confirm that we are seeing my...
We're seeing download the slide deck.
Oh, we're seeing the wrong one. Okay, don't look, that's an old presentation. Let's go with, all right, hold on one second. Good old Zoom here. Actually, it's all my fault. When you have I have three monitors here and too many screens, too many things open. Okay, hold on one second. Let's get this going again here.
And again, as Matt's setting that up, folks, I encourage you to be liberal with your questions in the meeting chat, and we'll queue all those up for him at the appropriate times.
Okay, hopefully now we're looking at the right presentation.
Yeah, you got it.
All right. So this is our Northern Lights travel guide with me. And let's get this moving here. I always, okay. Sometimes I hate Keynote with, let's go here. Okay, good. Now I think we're good to go. There we are. Okay. So in this presentation, we're going to be talking about getting to Lofoten, Norway, and it's actually kind of pronounced Lofoten. I always have a hard time pronouncing all these Norwegian names here, but a lot of people call it Lofoten, but it's kind of like a Lofoten is the correct pronunciation of that. And I'll talk about why I go to Norway. We're also going to do a gear check too, make sure you're bringing the right gear, not only with the cameras that you're going to be photographing with and the lenses, but also just traveling too in suitcases. How to predict the aurora. So I'm going to teach you a little bit of what we teach our clients out in the field on how to predict the aurora. Let me say, I'm sure everyone's heard of the KP value, but that is not that's one of the things that we look at, but it's not the most important indicator that we look at when photographing the aurora. Going to talk about camera settings, how to photograph the aurora, and other photos that you can get up there too when you're not photographing the aurora. So now this is the official link to download this slide deck. And Sam, Kev, I think you can throw that in the chat there too. And that'll get you access to the PDF of this slide deck. And there might even be a special offer on a Milky Way online course that I have in there too. About me, this is me and my website, Matt Suess Photo. That is made by SlickPic, and you definitely want to go check that out. SlickPic is amazing. If you are a photographer, you definitely want to give them a chance for your website, for your portfolio and galleries. I have actually two websites with SlickPic. My main website is my portfolio website, Matt Suess Photo, and they made it for me. I've been making my own website since like 1999. And man, it was a pleasure working with the designers with SlickPic for me not having to do it this time. So you can end up having them do your own website, or you can do it yourself too. They have a lot of templates and all that too. But I've been a full-time pro photographer since 1990. Kevin mentioned I was a photojournalist for 17 years. That was up in New England. And since I moved out west, I'm in Bozeman, Montana right now. I'm a landscape, night sky, wildlife, and nature photographer and educator since '06 when I moved out west. I'm also very honored to be an OM System ambassador. That's Olympus for you people who do not know about the new name change. I'm also a NiSi filter and Photo Pro ambassador as well. And I also do photo workshops, mentorships, online courses, fine art prints. And if you want to join me on a night sky workshop, I do a lot of different workshops, wildlife and everything, but these are the night sky workshops that I have coming up here. The top two in the Tetons and then the bottom three in Norway, which we're going to be talking about. So go ahead and take a look. The Norway ones sell out every year, so you may want to check that out sooner rather than later. Here is a screenshot of my homepage on SlickPic, Matt Suess Photo, and go ahead and check this out. See what they did, and I mean they make me look good, so love it. And here's the other website that I have on SlickPic, the galleries website that I'm using for my photo workshops to help advertise the photo workshops, but also give clients an area where they can upload their own photos and share with people, and also get reviews on the photos too. So let's get this presentation started with the travel guide here on Norway. So I started doing workshops 2 years ago out in Norway in 2023 with my good friend now, Kawhi Lin. And he does a bunch of workshops out there and brings a bunch of us photographers out there to help co-guide workshops with him. And he's out there for like 9 workshops back to back to back. In 25, I'll be out there for 2 workshops back to back. And you can see here on the photo on the left, that was us in 23. And the photo on the right was just the other month. And we have a great time with our clients. We get the best clients that come out with us on these workshops. And we get a chance to have dinner, spend a lot of time with the clients during the workshops. And it's just a fabulous time. And this was our 2023 group photo and our group photo from February, just the other month. So getting to Lofoten, Norway, it's actually not too bad to get there, fairly easy. But, if you're in an area where I am in Bozeman, Montana, trying to fly anywhere is kind of difficult. This was me just the other month heading out there. And you can see I have a 50-liter camera backpack on my backpack, which has all my camera gear. I have 2 suitcases, the hard shell suitcases. One's the large one and one's the small one, the typical Costco set. I actually did get an Osprey 90-liter duffel roller that I'm going to be trying out this summer that'll replace the big clamshell suitcase. That'll make it a little bit easier to roll on ground that isn't very smooth. And also I carry a laptop bag with me as well. And this was in 2023, my flight out to Norway and back again. And basically what I'm doing from Bozeman is I'll fly out to whatever airline is giving me the best, times and things like that. But I think this year I flew out to Minneapolis and then from Minneapolis to Amsterdam. And I spent the night in Amsterdam. And then you fly from Amsterdam to Oslo, Oslo to Evenes. And let's take a look at that here. The Lofoten Islands are way up north above the Arctic Circle. This is a really good key part of being able to see the northern lights in the winter. Now, you're not going to see the northern lights in the summer in Lofoten because they have no sunlight or they have no darkness at all. So that's why our photo workshops are in the winter when we have the majority of the night, is available to us. And we only have like maybe 5 or 6 hours of daylight. But you can see Norway on the right-hand side there and Lofoten way up on top there above the Arctic Circle. And This was me flying across the pond on the red eye, and I was flying Delta Comfort Plus, and I don't know, I lucked out on both my fly out over there and my return trip, where I just had all these seats around me empty, so I didn't have to worry about someone rolling down their seat in front of me, and I could spread out. And actually, I switched my seats on my flight back to the United States because the whole center, the four seats were not taken at all, and so I was actually able to lay down on my flight back. So amazing. So you arrive in Amsterdam, and you can see the path from Amsterdam to Oslo. But this year, I spent the night in Amsterdam. Last year, I flew direct to Oslo afterwards, and that was just way too much travel. And if you're going to spend the night in Amsterdam, they have a fabulous hotel called Citizen M. It's a walking distance from the airport. And I mean, look at this this cool room here with all these colored lights. I'm a fan of colored lights for some reason. And these all, you can control it by your iPad. So when you check in, they give you, there's an iPad there. There's an app too that you download for your phone, and you can control the lights and the climate and the shades, and it's crazy. And I don't know, the European people, they just have a unique sense of humor. They're not as uptight as we are in America here. And this is the do not disturb sign that you hang up on your door. And I don't know if you can see it here, but it says, "Don't come in. There's someone naked in here." And I got some other funny things with Norway here too on some of the signs that they have. We'll get to that. But really cool hotel. I was able to get some work done in the day, and they have beer on tap. Was able to get some work done on the evening too. I see a big thumbs up from Kevin there. They had a couple good IPAs. And now this is in Amsterdam. I then fly on SAS to Oslo and then to Evenes. And with SAS, it's actually nice because you can just pay just a little bit more, and you get all your bags go on for free, and you get access to their lounge, their private lounge, and you get also priority boarding through fast track security as well. And let me tell you, that makes a difference in traveling. So really nice and comfort. And then from Oslo to Evenes, this was me relaxing in the SAS lounge in Oslo, waiting for my flight up to Evenes. And this was the airplane I was getting ready to board to make that last little leg to Evenes. And then once in Evenes, we spend the night in the hotel. One night in the hotel in Evenes before we then the next morning, as the group, travel to the Lofoten Islands. And this hotel makes for some neat photos, a nice little black and white that I got around the side of it. But you do have to be careful about photographing in that area there. They don't allow photography in the airport. It's actually a military base, so you don't want to be pointing your camera around. This is actually up on the hill above the airport, and they're watching you. They do not like cameras pointing at their base, which is understandable. Nice big room on here for that night there, but simple room, but nice and convenient. Gets you inspired for the Northern Lights. And the great thing about, especially for me returning every year, is I'm getting to see all my friends and guides that live out there. This is with Thomas Vickrey. Him and I do workshops in the Faroe Islands together, and evidently we both have the same color running shoes. And this is a couple more of the guides here meeting up again with, got me on the left there with Christian. There's Kawhi, my partner, and Odd, fabulous guide that I work with every year. And then on the right, everyone calls him Peter, but his Norwegian name is Petter, and fabulous human being as well. And we have the best guides in the world out there that we work with, and all of our clients love them. Gets us to the locations when we need to, and just fabulous drivers. And we all love Lofoten for it. This was just this February. Going back to the sense of humor out there, they are funny with their bathrooms. This sign here, I'm still trying to work out that one on the lower right-hand corner. I have not gotten my technique down at all on that one yet. It's still a mess, but yeah, they have these signs up there for what you can do and what you shouldn't be doing in the bathrooms, and even what you should not be flushing down. So don't flush the following: tissue, paper towels, tampons, sanitary napkins, love letters, socks, hopes and dreams, hangovers, local beer, or your ex down the toilet. And also, wash hands with soap and water. Do not forget to wash your thumbs. Finally, disinfect with liquid. Now, this was in the sushi restaurant that we go to, so I don't know if that had any bearing with the thumbs. They also have a sense of humor with their candy as well. And we stop at this gas station on the way out to Lofoten. We have a 5-hour drive to the islands. And these are quite popular. So again, everyone's getting cell phone photos of these things in the gas station there. And fish is a big thing out there as well. And this was a big, huge trout in the grocery store out there, and fish dinner as well. So great seafood out there, as you would expect out in Norway. And here's some of that seafood out there. We got a fish burger on the left with some shrimp, and then some sushi, which I never liked sushi before, and actually now me and Petter, the guide out there, we actually finally now started liking sushi from this restaurant. All right, gear check. This is what I flew out with in 23, and I was using the Pelican cases. And Kevin said he has a hard time packing stuff because he has too much stuff. I have way too much stuff too, and I overpack all the time as well. And I thought, this was going to be my first international trip with a lot of camera gear last year. And I was like, well, let me get the Pelican case just in case they have to check it down below or something like that. And Pelican case is good. It's sturdy, protects your gear well, but I think it also, is an eye magnet too. And I've been doing some more international travel since my first trip here with the Pelican. And this was the only time I actually was questioned, what's in my case by the airline staff and everything like that. So for traveling now, I'm now opting for the backpacks as opposed to the Pelican cases. Plus, people know a Pelican case, they see it, and they're going to assume, hey, something expensive is in there. And if you're flying into some areas that, are not as safe crime-wise as Norway, you could be running into some trouble there. So, yeah, this was a one and done for me on the Pelican cases. Now I'm switching backpacks. This is actually a new company that I came across, Naya, I'm going to pronounce it right, Naya Evo, or Naya Evo. And if you're interested in these bags, I might start working with them and might be able to get you a discount on them. But the great thing about these bags is that this bag here that I got, it's a 44 liter that can expand to a 60 liter. And I'm normally flying with a 50 liter, and that can get you on most of the overhead baggage. You got to check the airline in specific to make sure. This one here is a little bit smaller and expandable, but it also has these ICUs, these internal units here that you can pull out. So if for whatever reason the overhead storage is filled, they need to check your camera bag, you can pull out that insert in there that has all your main gear, all your lenses and cameras and batteries and everything. You can pull that out and then put that underneath the seat and then let them check the bag. So I think that's very advantageous there. Okay, lenses. So for the night sky, you're going to want f2.8 or faster. For sunrise and sunset, f4 lenses are fine. And 14 to 50 millimeter full frame equivalent is my favorite range for photographing the night sky. I'm an OM system ambassador, so I got some OM system lenses here, but I'll also tell you the equivalent in the full frame here. The 7 to 14 f2.8, that's equivalent to a 14 to 28 millimeter in the full frame world. 8 millimeter fisheye is a fantastic lens I do a lot of photography with. The 12 to 40 f2.8 Pro lens in the full frame world, that would be the equivalent to a 24 to 80. And then some primes too. So 12 millimeter f2.0 lens, that would be a 24 millimeter f2.0 lens, and a 17 1.2, really fast, bright lens that's equivalent to a 34 millimeter lens in the full frame world. You're also going to want a sturdy, well-made tripod. It can be windy out there. We're photographing along the shoreline. It can definitely be windy out there. Having a sturdy tripod, you need that for the long exposures. I prefer the Arca Suess compatible ball heads, and actually just started working with Platypod. Got a couple of their ball heads, love them. Those are fabulous. And having an L bracket, L plate is really helpful as well, so you can get your camera vertical really fast. And then filters too. We use a lot of filters, not for the night sky, but we use the filters for the sunrise and sunset and during the day. And you want to avoid filters with color casts, and I prefer glass over resin. And those two reasons right there are why I work with NiSi filters. I think they have the best filters out there, and no color cast at all. And my favorites would be the CPL circular polarizing filter, 3 5-stop soft grads, so you can darken down the sky without having to have it affect your foreground. And then also 6 and 10-stop solid neutral density filters, so you can get those long exposures on the water. And this
Hey,
is
Matt.
what,
Hey, Matt.
yeah,
But before you, can you go back to that slide? I want to
yeah,
continue with a couple of questions.
yeah.
Gary, Gary's already sold. He says, for your 2025 workshop, is it okay to buy air tickets now?
Oh, now,
Are
no,
you going to cover this later on in your presentation?
But I
Well,
can answer it now. I mean, that's fine. And yeah, feel free to interrupt with any questions that you need to. Yeah, I'm
and
fine with that.
I've got a few too, but go ahead and
Okay.
answer.
Okay. Yeah, Gary, no, the most important thing is to get your spot for the workshop. So the airline tickets, I actually just read a article that for overseas international air travel, the most advantageous is when you purchase your tickets about 70 days in advance of your destination. Now, this is going to depend on where you're flying because some routes may be a little bit more popular and they may sell out. But if you get your air tickets way, way, way in advance, right now the airline, they're just throwing out their tickets and they change their prices constantly. And so they're looking for people that, hey, I got to get my airplane ticket. And so you may be spending a little bit more for your airfare now than as opposed to waiting like about 2 or 3 months beforehand.
Okay, sounds good. That's great. And Amir asked if you need physical ND filters with the new OM1 Mark II.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I'll be talking about that in a little bit there. So
Okay.
yeah, we'll get to that in a little slide there.
I had a quick question about um, uh, it looks like on the camera that you've got here, you've got a system where you're putting an actual glass plate through some kind of a holder.
Mhm.
It is I usually use the screw-on filters. It sounds to me like I'd need a system like this if I wanted that gradation. Is that correct?
Yeah, so they make and NiSi has them too. I'm a NiSi reseller too, so you can actually order them direct from me. Uh,
Yahoo.
and I don't carry the circular filters that are the split grads because you have no control over where you can put that gradation other than, that gradation is going to be in the middle of your frame. And usually we're not photographing with the horizon right in the middle of our frame. So we call them square filters, but they're square and rectangle. They attach to a specific holder that's in the front that can accommodate up to three of those filters. And the square ones would be the solid neutral density filters for long exposures. The vertical ones would be the split grads. And that's what I have in here right now is that split grad. And then I can just raise and lower that glass to wherever I need it. So, in this particular case here, we can see that my horizon, if we look at the back of the screen, is in the top third of the frame. So I
Right.
just have that gradation just in that top third of the frame. And you're not going to get that with the circular ones that you screw on there. And then two, they
Yeah.
make they make solid neutral density filters that screw on to circular, but you got to be careful with stacking those because then you're going to start running into some vignetting. With the
Yeah.
filter holder system, there's no vignetting all the way down to a 16 millimeter on full frame.
Jeez. I did have some leaf filters way back in the day, probably 10 years ago. So
Mhm.
I'm familiar with those systems. I got rid of them just because they were so fiddly. I had to
Yeah.
fiddle around with them a lot. But it sounds like Nisi's made something that's much more convenient to work with.
It is. It is. And, everyone some people it takes a little bit of time to get used to, something new. It's so much easier just to screw on the filter. But once you get used to, putting on the filter holder and then putting the actual filters in there, after a little while, it becomes second nature and becomes really easy. And then you realize the benefits of having that as opposed to just the regular circular screw on filters.
Just
Okay.
one last question. Well, just one last question, Gary. By the way, he's already signed up for your 2025 workshop. So your 70-day, uh,
Awesome.
uh,
Welcome, Gary.
your 70-day advice was good and timely. Does he also asked, does Nisi make magnetic filters? Any kind of magnetic filters that you?
No. Nope. No. And I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about them. I got some for my iPhone that I'm experimenting with, believe it or not, with some lenses that I just got from Reflex. But just watching them out in the field, again, you're stacking them on top of each other, which you kind of have a vignetting type of an issue too. I'm not sure how convenient they are out in the cold when, the wind's blowing and it's 32 degrees or 0 degrees Celsius and you got gloves on and you need to take them on and off and with the water and wetness and everything like that. So right now I'm not too sold on the magnetic ones. NiSi actually does have a magnetic attachment on one of their variable neutral density filters, which is a circular screw-on filter, but they don't have, the other ones that I think what Gary was talking about.
Gotcha. And in terms of tripod feet, do you also recommend spiked or just the regular legs will be fine?
Yeah, no, the spikes are fantastic. They definitely help, especially in the when the wind is blowing. And with the Photo Pro tripods that I use, it's actually nice because the spike is actually built in, so it has the rubber cup on it that you can then pull off, and then that metal spike is right there, so you don't have
Oh,
to
cool.
be messing around with taking things off and getting them on at all or anything like that.
Cool. Okay. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
that'll
Thank
definitely be helpful. Okay, so this shot here, and this was with my OM5 camera. This was a 60-second exposure, and I was using the CPL circular polarizing filter, a 10-stop solid neutral density filter to give me that long exposure to smooth out that water, and the 3-stop split grad just to darken down my sky relative to my foreground, so the exposure was really nice and balanced. Prepare for the elements. Can get snowy and windy out there. If anyone shoots with OM System Olympus gear, you guys know that your cameras are all set, and something like this is nothing for our gear. So I wasn't worried at all about protecting my gear when I was out there. These things can handle downpours and any of that, but other cameras are not as water resistant. So you may want to bring a cloth or some sort of cover for it. We also recommend bringing those big microfiber cloths too to wipe down the filters and your lenses and all of that. And other times the weather can be just, you get those blue bonnet days, not as often out there on a coastal environment, but we had this out in February where we had this not a cloud in the sky. And then the next day, winds are blowing. It was 32 degrees, and winds were probably blowing about 40 or 50 miles an hour on this beach. And I'll tell you what, it looks cold, it looks windy, it looks miserable. This was one of the most fun days that our clients actually had. We make sure everyone's geared right for it so that you're going to be warm out there, heated gloves, battery operated gloves, and wearing the right, down jackets and things like that. And they just got fabulous images that day. So even though the weather seems extreme, everyone wore the right gear, and that's the biggest important step in trying to stay warm in these environments is just the right gear and just embrace it. And speaking about the weather out there in Norway, it's above the Arctic Circle. You would think it would be like minus 500 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that. It's not. It's around freezing, so around 32 degrees, and then plus or minus from that. So plus or minus 0 degrees Celsius. So it's not that terrible out there. It's not as cold as you would expect, but anytime you're out there and it's around freezing and the wind's blowing, it's going to get chilly. And again, this was from that same day. There was pauses in the wind, and just a fabulous, fabulous morning for photography. Some of the gear that we wear out there, muck boots, and these are the Arctic version, so they have some insulation in them, and they come up almost up to your knee, depending on how tall you are. This is good for when we're standing along the ocean and the waves are crashing against us, and we're trying to get those nice long exposures. And crampons too. So you put the crampons on the bottom of your boot to give you traction to walk on that snow and ice. And here we are, our guides, and this is Kawhi putting a crampon on one of our clients here. Our guides are super fast at getting the crampons on for you, so you don't have to worry about that. So another gear check here, phone apps on how to predict the aurora and things like that. Sky Guide, Windy. So Sky Guide for the sky, Windy is a weather app. Aurora, it's just called the Aurora, and I have a screenshot of this app. These are all on the iPhone. I'm assuming you can get them on Android as well. Space Weather Live and Photo Pills. Those are some of the apps that we use. And then some other things that you might want to have, intervalometer, headlamp with a red light, knee pads if you're going to be kneeling down, getting those low angles. Definitely waterproof pants, jackets, and boots, and even a waterproof hat, cold weather gear, and extra batteries and chargers because that cold weather does do a number on the batteries. So let's talk about how to predict the aurora. We look at two things for predicting the aurora, and one is Earth weather, and the other is solar weather. And Earth weather should be obvious as to why it's so important, because if there's clouds in the sky, you're not going to see the aurora. The aurora can be a full blaze up above, but if you got a cloudy night, you're not going to see it. And that's just what we have to deal with the Earth weather. But then you can also have the solar weather too. And right now we're in a cycle. The cycle's every 11 years, and we're at the peak right now for peak aurora potential this year, going into next year. And just because we're in that peak area there doesn't mean that every single night you have the chance of seeing the aurora. And I'll talk about the solar weather a little bit here too. You also need dark skies. And this is why we go up to Norway in the winter, because we're above the Arctic Circle. And on December 21st, they don't have any sunlight at all. So you could stay out all night if you wanted to, trying to see the aurora. This here in 2023, we were out in February 1st, and we only had daylight of 5.5 hours. So we had a nice, huge window of time to hopefully get the aurora. And then also during the day, we had that golden hour, which when the sun isn't going up that high, golden hour pretty much lasts for 5 hours out there in Norway. So on days that we're not able to get the aurora, we're out there photographing during the day and getting some great shots. Let's talk about that solar weather because we have the KP index and the Aurora oval and the IMF interplanetary magnetic field. These are the three key factors that we look at. We also look at other things too, solar wind and all that. But these are the three main things that we look at initially to then predict when the aurora is going to be going on. I mean, if we look at this here, I mean, we have darkness from 7 p.m. till 6 a.m. in the morning. So we got, 12 hours of, pure darkness. We're not going to be sitting out there for 12 hours hoping we see the aurora. So we're looking at these other measurements, scientific measurements, to help pinpoint when, within an hour or two of when we can go out and have a good chance of the aurora.